During the 2015 Grammy Awards, Prince was asked to present for Album of the Year, which eventually went to the amazing singer and songwriter Beck. However, before all of that went down, Prince said one of his most quotable quotes ever.
Albums still matter. Like books and Black lives, albums still matter. Tonight and always.
Today we're going to talk about what this quote means and why it is as important today as ever. Hey everybody, welcome back to Prince's Friend, exploring music through Prince. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Prince's Friend YT. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all the same name. How convenient. So when Prince said these famous words, albums still matter, like books and Black lives, albums still matter, he was met with roarous applause. But why? Not only why did people like this, but why did Prince feel he needed to say that in this particular moment? Well, first let's go ahead and look at the definition of an album. The textbook definition that means something to this discussion is a collection of recordings issued as a single item on CD, record, or another medium. This isn't very different from the way the Grammys defines Best Album of the Year, which is Album of the Year is awarded for a whole album. The award is presented to the artist, producer, record engineer, and mastering engineer for that album. In this context, album means a recorded collection of songs, either a multi-track LP, CD, or download package, not the individual songs or their compositions. But to me, and apparently to Prince and the Grammys, an album was far more than just a collection of songs. All of the songs on the album should be connected, either in theme or possibly they could tell a story. An example of an album that tells a really cool story throughout all of the songs on it would be The Weeknd's The Beauty Behind the Madness, or Marilyn Manson's Antichrist Superstar. Examples of albums that execute a central theme but don't necessarily tell a story could include Beck's Midnight Vultures, or possibly Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. But honestly, I'm always surprised to hear that this is a novel concept to some people. Because seriously, have you ever had a discussion about a book and gone, so what did you think of the book? Well, I only read chapters 3 and 10. I did skim the rest of the book, but it didn't really seem like it was that exciting. I mean, I guess chapter 7 was pretty And of course you can have favorite songs off of an album, or ones that you listen to more often than others. But a really good album should be an experience listening to it from front to back. It should make you feel something. It should take you on a journey. And Prince was an expert at this, as I've explained in a few of my reviews. Every single one of his albums either shared a theme, such as Dirty Mind, or Love Sexy, or 3121, or actually told a story to the person who was listening to the album, such as Artificial Age, Emancipation, or Controversy. He was well known for writing dozens and dozens of songs, but then he would take a song and he would place it in his infamous vault until he found a place for it on an album. Because a lot of the time, the album he was currently working on, it didn't fit in theme or as part of the story that he was trying to tell. It sometimes took years before he would actually have an album where this old concept for a song would really fit. That's why sometimes you listen to albums and you'll be like, wow, that feels like it could have been from back in that era. And that's because it was. This isn't Prince recycling old material. It's him finally finding a place for that song, a home, if you will, within the context of an album. If we contrast that with the music industry that we have today, we live now in a singles market, and we have for some time. With so many strides in music production and distribution, the market is filled to the brim with new artists, all of them vying for your ear. Instead of spending months on a collection of tracks that involves time and effort to explore a central theme, most artists right now release singles they think will grab some of the commercial airtime and make them a big hit. Then once they've got you hooked, they release an album or an EP at the least. It's also easier to ask buyers for $1.29 for a single song than it is for $12.99 or $9.99 for an album. as you can grab a lot of impulse buys that way. But back in the day, albums were the way that you did things. Pressing vinyl, producing 8-tracks, CDs, cassettes, whatever, because there was a physical media involved. All of that costs money. So you're not going to release multiple singles on physical media because that's going to cost you just as much as just producing an album that has all of the songs on it. But honestly, that's also just the way that Prince preferred to release his music. But starting in the 2010s, even Prince started releasing individual singles, such as Screwdriver or Rock and Roll Love Affair. But even most of these songs eventually ended up on an album later down the line, usually with a bit of remastering and rearrangement, as Prince wanted to release the final product of a song on an album. Prince was really old school because he looked even further back than even his own career and said, I want to do what those people back in the 50s and 60s were doing, where a single artist would release multiple albums a year. Of course, this approach is what led to a lot of contract disputes with Warner Brothers, and eventually him going on to having his own distribution and being able to do everything he wanted. We're not going to belabor that point, but the dude liked albums. I recently read an article called The Lost Art of Sequencing, which, if you don't know what that is, that's how you choose the order that songs appear on an album. The problem is that in today's culture, with library shuffles and genre playlists, it kind of has become a lost art. But the order of songs on an album can tell a story in and of itself. Check out my video where I talk about the meaning behind the song If I Was Your Girlfriend. I talk a lot about how if you take the song as an individual entity, it kind of means one thing. But if you take it as part of an album and what songs Prince packaged it with, what's before it, what's after it, it actually can take on an entirely different meaning through the story that's being conveyed there. I'll also put a link to that sequencing article in the description, so go check that out. It's a really interesting read. So we've talked about albums now, but let's talk about the other things that Prince referenced.
Albums still matter. Like books and Black lives, albums still matter. Tonight and always.
I recently saw an interesting video by The Origin of Everything about why libraries are still super important. I'll link to that in the description so you can check it out, but as a writer myself, I can obviously see that books are still important. There's just something about holding a book in your hand and getting away from your iPad or ebook reader to feel the book and turn the pages. It's an experience unlike any other. Even though a lot of people are saying we don't really need books anymore. And I've talked a lot about Prince's involvement with Black Lives Matter on this channel and his push for social progress for Black people. Black Lives Matter began in 2013, and this quote from Prince was in 2015, the same year that we saw Anthony Hill, the Charleston Nine, Freddie Gray, and Sandra Bland gunned down without anyone seemingly caring. Black Lives Matter calls attention to this disparity of justice, and Prince proudly supported the group, even using his platform as presenter at the Grammys to further let people know Black Lives Matter. Even if you don't think they do, they still do, just like books and albums. I'll also put a link to Black Lives Matter in the description if you want to check out that group and get more information about it. But in the end, I agree with Prince. Albums still matter. There is nothing like hitting play on an album and letting it take you on a journey to some sort of new emotional state. That's why Love Sexy is a single track on a CD. You're not supposed to listen to individual songs. It is a spiritual journey. But even other concept albums like 1,000 Forms of Fear from Sia, or albums that tell a story like Downward Spiral from Nine Inch Nails, I don't want one song over and over. I don't want to cherry pick what I'm listening to. I want to be taken in different directions. I want to listen to new sounds, explore genres and melodies that I've never heard before. And I want all of these different things to feel complete and together on an album. I do hope that the industry starts trending more back towards entire experiences, as those artists that do that sort of thing are the ones that I gravitate towards. But what do you guys think? I want to continue this discussion down in the comments. Do albums still matter? Not just because Prince said so, but what do you think about the record industry and albums' place within that? Put it down in the comments and I'll talk to you down there. Also, before you do that, don't forget to hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when Prince's Friend releases a brand new video. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/princesfriend, where you can directly support the channel in a huge way. It helps us out so much. And also, may you live to see the dawn. Love you all.